If you want to be able to sell more and sell better, you need a better understanding of sales. Because if you're struggling with selling your product or service, chances are you've literally been thinking about sales the wrong way. Selling in 2025 should not be like the Wolf of Wall Street. This way of selling is completely outdated and it doesn't work anymore. And I've been around the block when it comes to this specific topic. I've sold over $1.5 million on various different offers under the age of 21. If you want to become better at the skill of sales, stick around and watch this video until the end. In the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'm going to break down the 4 pillars around sales that most people totally misunderstand and why the old school approach of just pressuring somebody is actually killing your close rate. Now, the problem with sales is most people think it's all about being pushy, being aggressive, or convincing somebody to buy something that they don't want. They think it's about being manipulative, lying, or being super charismatic or sweet talking somebody. This couldn't be further from the truth. I see this all the time when I'm working with young men learning the skill of sales. They come in thinking that they need to be like the next Jordan Belfort with the fast talking, the high pressure, being manipulative, etc. And as a byproduct, they actually fail miserably in the beginning because that's not what sales is in 2025. And that's not what sales really has ever been, but especially not now. Here's what most people don't understand about sales in 2025. Sales in 2025 is less about convincing somebody to buy something, and it's more about uncovering what their actual problem is. It's less talking and more listening. It's less pressure and more problem solving. The best salespeople that I know, the ones making 20K per month or more in straight commissions, they're not the loudest people in the room. They're not the most charismatic either. They're literally just the ones that ask the right questions at the right time and genuinely care about solving the prospect's problems. Let me give you an analogy that should hopefully help you out. Think about the last time you went to the doctor. What did they do? Did they immediately start prescribing medication before they knew what was wrong with you? Did they try to convince you that you need a surgery without understanding your actual problems and symptoms? Of course they didn't. Instead, they ask you questions like, what brings you in today? When did this problem start? How would you rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? Have you tried anything prior to address this? What they did is they diagnosed the problem before prescribing a solution. And this is exactly how sales should work in 2025. Your job as a salesperson isn't to convince somebody to buy your product. Your job is to diagnose whether your product is even the right fit for them in the first place. If it is, then sales becomes naturally pretty easy. And if it isn't, then you shouldn't be trying to force it. The best salespeople that I know, the ones making over $20,000 a month in commissions, are the ones that do this job as a doctor. They're basically like the best doctors. They ask great questions, they listen carefully to the answers, and then they only prescribe a solution that actually fits the diagnosis. Now, real quick plug before we dive into the 4 pillars. If you want to learn how to get more skilled at sales so you can make 10 to 20K per month in high ticket sales, go to the link in the description and book a call. Now, the 4 pillars of modern sales, pillar number 1 is problem identification. The outdated way of doing sales is spending the first 5 minutes of the call talking about rapport, asking them, how is the weather today? How was your weekend? And all this like corny stuff. Buyers have become so aware at this point, when you ask stuff like that, you're viewed as just the same as everybody else. The best way to actually start off your calls in 2025 is just saying something like, hey, can you see me? Can you hear me? And then they say yes. And then you pretty much just dive straight into it. It's like, okay, well, welcome to the call. It seems like you booked on our calendar here talking about X, Y, and Z. Is that right? And then when they say yes, you just say something like, awesome. Well, I know you came from one of my YouTube videos online. I guess like what kind of attracted your attention to make you want to jump on a call here today? This way, you're actually getting to the point inside of your call within like the first 20 to 30 seconds instead of wasting all your time doing this fucking stupid rapport building. Now, after this is where the doctor analogy really comes into play, because your job is to understand their current situation and identify the gap between where they are now and where they want to get to. There's a couple key questions that I ask. The first being something like, okay, sick. And like, what are you noticing right now about your current position or where you're at right now in your life that you feel like you could use some help getting this thing going or solving XYZ problem? You can also ask like, how long have they been looking into solving this problem? You definitely want to ask something as well like, hey, in the past, what have you done in terms of like more of an advanced training to help you do X, Y, and Z? Most salespeople just rush through this initial process because they're eager to start pitching and going through their offer. But this is actually the most important part of the call. If you don't understand their problem, you can't actually position your solution in the right way. And on the flip side, if you do this right, you literally pre-handle 90% of objections, or the ones that don't get pre-handled, you at least know they're going to come up at the end of it. Once you understand their problem and they've admitted to you that they have a problem, you need them to understand the cost of them not solving this problem. This isn't about creating fake urgency and doing all these pressure tactics. It's about helping them see the real consequences of if they stay in their current position, what will happen. For example, if they haven't ever invested into more of an advanced training, you could ask them something like, yeah, and just be real with me, man. Like, what do you feel like has stopped you from wanting to do something about that? And then they're going to give their BS excuse. And then you can say something like, so what happens if we continue to allow this reason or this limitation to prevent us from investing into our skills and getting more help? As well, when you're asking somebody like, hey, what's your goal? You could say something like, how would you feel if you got there? And then they talk about how good they would feel, blah, 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 blah. And then you could say something like, so if you would feel that when you get this goal, how do you feel now? And then they're going to describe their current shitty situation. And then you can ask something like, hey, and how long has that been there? Another thing that you can bring up, and if you do this in the right way, it won't come off as too pushy or too salesy. You can say something like, so yeah, there's definitely another side to the coin though that we haven't really talked about, because the people that never consider failure are usually the ones that end up failing. So I guess for you, like if you never got to experience X goal, continued thinking with X belief, like what happens then? All you're really trying to do here is to get the prospect to see what life looks like if they don't change what they're currently doing, the beliefs that they have, the things, the way that they're going about their life, etc. Basically, to summarize everything, the goal with this phase is to help them realize that their cost of inaction is higher than the cost of your solution. Then number 3 is presenting your solution. And again, this is only after you go through the first 2 pillars. Now the key here, I see a lot of people wasting a ton of time just going over their entire program, showing all the specific parts and all the details and all the mechanisms and stuff like that. What elite sales reps do is they actually create customized pitches. For example, if you're selling a program that teaches businesses how they can grow their business and their biggest challenge right now is lead generation, then you focus your program when you're presenting it to them to really focus on the lead generation aspect. If they said their biggest issue was sales, you sell the program around that thing. This is called creating a customized presentation, and it's infinitely more effective than just giving like the same presentation to every single person you talk to. Even though that's more consistent and you can use that to figure out things, it's less effective. And then pillar 4 is obviously objection handling. Now, the key difference between elite sales reps versus beginner ones is elite sales reps actually prevent majority of the objections before they even come up. And the way that they do this is by using pillars 1 and 2 by asking the right question. Then they're going to talk about their limitations. And a super common limitation that I've heard from people is money. So let's say you're selling for like a making money online type of program. And in the beginning of the call, you ask, okay, and what have you kind of done in the past in terms of investing into more of an advanced mentorship to learn these skills so you can start making money? And if they say nothing, then you kind of want to go off the back of that and say something like, really? Like, why not? What has prevented you from taking a good chunk of money and investing it into your skills and into your education? And at this point, they're going to walk through their limitations for whatever reason prevented them from doing that. In a lot of cases, it's money. And then off the back of that, you can go like, hey, can I share a perspective that I think will help you out? They'll always say yes here. Then you can kind of be like, do you see how this perspective of letting money be a limitation for you not being able to join the program where you can make more money has put you into a spot now where you're jumping between business models and trying to learn all these different skills without actually making any money online? Your goal here is to get them to see how them putting off investing money into an advanced trading and an advanced coaching program is the exact reason that they're on that call right now. And so if you walk them through this perspective change a couple minutes to the call, they're much more likely to not use money as an excuse to not actually join. You can also ask things earlier in the call like, so my question to you isn't, do you want to make more money? My question to you is like, how committed are you to becoming the person you know you need to be to get to where you want to be? And then you can say like, because essentially you don't really have to change. It's really up to you. Then when you start coming up to the real objections, which do inevitably happen at the end of calls, the number one thing is to not get combative and do not fight them. Your objective here isn't to necessarily even sell the person into the program. It's to get clarity on what they actually mean. Because if you take in any sales calls before, you know that 90% of objections are just like smoke screens. All you have to do here is acknowledge what they've said and then challenge their logic by asking them questions. The first thing you do whenever you get any objection on the face of the planet is you isolate it and you tie down. What this looks like is, let's say that they said, hey, I just don't have the money right now. Then you want to say something like, money aside, is this something that you would do? Your reason for doing this is before you try to solve that money objection, you want to figure out if there's anything else coming up or if it even is money in the first place. Let's say they give you a wife objection. Hey, I need to talk to my wife. You want to say something like, hey, if your wife was on this call right now, would this be the answer for you? If they say yes here, which most people do, then you say why. Then after they talk about the reasons that they think you could actually help them, then you can say something like, okay, so when you go and talk to your wife, like what's coming up to want to spark that conversation? Then what's going to happen is you're either actually going to get the real objection or they're going to be like circling back to just like, hey, I want to talk to my wife, which means that the objection is just fear. And then from there, you just want to ask something like, hey, let's say you go and talk to your wife, you talk about the program, you talk about the details, and she says no. What's your plan then? And then from there, you use that to figure out which way you want to go down. Most objections really aren't even about money or like timing or thinking about it or talking to their wife or all this garbage that most people give you. In reality, most objections just come down to trust and fear. Your job is to uncover what the objection actually is to get them in. Now, before we wrap up this video, I want to give you a mindset shift that changed everything for me. And the mindset that you want to start all of your calls off with is to not try to sell every single person you talk to. It's more about helping. Start trying to actually help people. Your goal isn't to convince somebody that isn't a good fit. Your goal is to identify the people that are a good fit and make it easy for them to say yes by asking the right questions. When you approach sales in this way, it becomes way less stressful for you and less pushy for them. And you're not trying to manipulate anyone, you're trying to solve their problems. And like from my experience, the best part is when you actually solve their problems and you get them over their limiting beliefs and you get them signed up and then they end up going through that program and changing their life, then they usually actually come back to you and thank you. Sometimes they refer their friends, they leave great testimonials, they often buy again. And this is how you really build a sustainable career for yourself, not just like a one-time transaction. So there you guys have it. This is the 4 pillars of modern sales that most people completely misunderstand. I want to reiterate again, sales isn't about being pushy or aggressive. It's about asking the right questions at the right time that get people to challenge their way of thinking and their logic. And it's basically trying to get them to see the world the way that you do. And I promise you, if you can master these 4 pillars, not only will you become better at sales and increase your close rate, but you'll actually love doing sales. Like for me, I actually love getting on sales calls because I know I'm really good at them, as opposed to when I was first getting started, I absolutely dreaded getting on sales calls because I was only closing like 30% of them. And when you approach sales from this perspective, money just starts flowing in naturally. If you found this helpful and you want to get to 5 to 10K per month with high ticket sales, go to the link in the description and book a call with myself where I'll run you through how I can help you. But hopefully you guys enjoyed and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.